It is Sunday, May 18th, and FBI Director Kash Patel making news this morning, dropping a bombshell about the J6 pipe bomber that we may soon know who it is. That previous leadership tried their hardest to hide the truth on the pipe bomber, on so much else as well, locking the evidence away in the Hoover building in rooms nobody's allowed to look. Well, they found it, spent weeks looking, and it's all coming out now. We're going to show you. Also, Kash adding, a wave of transparency is coming. Get ready because it's coming. That's what he said. And an update on what exactly this new nuke deal with Iran will look like. What will be different from this deal versus the original Obama-era Iran deal? Well, we have the answers, and what Trump's ultimate red line is. We're going to show you that. But before we get started, thank you for liking and sharing these videos. It really helps out the channel. And consider subscribing so you don't miss these regular updates. So it's been over 4 full years since J6 2021. More than 4 full years. The insurrection that was supposedly worse than 9/11. That's what Kamala Harris told us. That's what the media told us. Worse than 9/11. Worse than Pearl Harbor. And prior to Trump winning the election and being inaugurated, the FBI was still prosecuting Trump supporters who were there on that day. The point, to make sure we learn, teach us a lesson, never complain about the regime in power. The Biden administration arresting over 1,500 people, top Biden officials telling us over and over again, if you were there, if you were at the Capitol on J6, you can't hide. We will find you. All the awesome surveillance powers are being brought to bear to find you. Interestingly, though, the greatest law enforcement agency on the planet, the FBI, couldn't find any information at all about the people who planted multiple pipe bombs outside the DNC and RNC the night before J6. The FBI's official position over the last 4 years was they had no information, no new information on who these pipe bomb suspects were. The media, oddly silent about it, which was strange considering they talked relentlessly about J6, but the pipe bombers, we're not talking about that. Following the initial report about finding them, you won't hear any mention, any follow-up on the pipe bombs for some reason on corporate media. Here's the FBI's official position on this prior to Trump taking office. Watch.
The FBI releasing new video of the person suspected of planting those pipe bombs the night before the Capitol riot. And the FBI officially confirming those pipe bombs placed at the Democratic and Republican National Committee headquarters could kill.
These pipe bombs were viable devices that could have been detonated, resulting in serious injury or death.
The video offering specific detail on the suspect's movements. By 7:52, the suspect has made it to the DNC headquarters. The suspect sits on a bench and appears to fumble with that backpack. A bomb is later discovered in the bush adjacent to the bench. At 8:14, the same suspect walking down an alley next to the RNC headquarters. A bomb placed there as well before exiting the area, walking past the Capitol Hill Club.
Now, last year, there was an update on this thanks to the efforts of Congressman Massey, one of our favorite members of Congress. Thomas Massey somehow got a hold of footage which the FBI claimed didn't exist, and he worked with Capitol Police to have it released. And it was remarkable footage. It appeared to show the moment Capitol Police and Secret Service discover these pipe bombs, tipped off by this unknown man in a black hoodie, which we still have no clue about his identity. If you watch the clip, the whole thing's bizarre. Just how unconcerned Secret Service appears to be. Why they didn't stop the guy who tipped them off. They didn't interview him. They didn't get his name, apparently. He just disappeared. They just let him disappear, almost as if they knew who he was. They didn't need his name because they knew who the guy was. They claim they don't, but that's what it looked like. Well, 4.5 years later, how things have changed, how huge a difference leadership makes. New leadership at the White House, new leadership at the FBI, at Secret Service, a new DNI, Tulsi Gabbard, a new AG, a new Deputy AG, Ed Martin, who is great, by the way. All of these people committed to transparency. And this morning, the current confirmed FBI Director Kash Patel with his deputy Dan Bongino, dropping bombs of their own in this new exclusive interview with Maria Bartiromo, saying the truth about the pipe bomber is coming, that for 4 years they purposely tried covering this up. All we needed to get to the bottom of it were the right people, information, and people with the right information, and how things have changed for us. Watch.
But you promoted Stephen Jensen, the architect of the FBI's overzealous January 6th investigation.
I want the American public to realize what we did. That man was in a position where he literally fought back against the machine who was saying, we want to politicize this event. We want to politicize this event. And at the end of the day, remember, Maria, there's a chain of command here. So you can fight back your chain of command to a certain degree before they fire you. And Steve Jensen and other folks were promoted because they embody what the American public demands of FBI agents.
To get to the bottom of something like January 6th and the pipe bomber case, for example, you need three things. You need people, you need information, and you need people with information. I'll allow the public to put that together and just wait, and you'll see. Nothing we're doing, nothing is by accident.
This coming only days after Associate Deputy AG Ed Martin made news. Ed Martin's great, by the way. There's a reason the Senate tried quashing his appointment. He's not scared at all to go after the crooks in D.C. Ed Martin telling Benny Johnson last week that Biden administration actively covered this up, that he has seen the footage and the evidence, that they now have suspects, and this case, the pipe bomber, will be closed and soon. Roll the tape.
To get information about a January 6th bomber, the pipe bomber, It's like you can see how the operation works.
Let me jump in on that one for you. The pipe bomber's out of my old office where I was U.S. attorney. When I got briefed on it, I said, what are we doing? Basically, they did nothing for all 4 years of the Biden administration. Okay, so they sat around and sat on the case. And, people say, what did you do? Well, we put new eyes on the case. We demanded that they start questioning people. And that investigation, Benny, so that investigation is now about 3 months old because it sat for 4 years. And so we're picking up a 4-year investigation this late and going into it, and we're in the middle of it. We've got hot suspects. We've got more data. We're working on more phones, and we're actually running the case. Now you say to yourself, what the hell, Ed? Arrest somebody. Well, I'm just telling you, we're basically in month 3 of something that sat for almost 4 years or more than 4 years. And so unsatisfactory, unbelievable. Again, I talked to Tulsi Gabbard about that case specifically today, about some of the things that we know, about some of the participants in January 6th that have yet to be revealed, that were working in various parts of the government. We don't have enough transparency on that. Benny, one of the reasons why, Tom Tillis made a terrible mistake in blocking me. He said he was worried about January 6th. I say thank you, because now I'm in charge of weaponization of government, and all these things are coming out, and we're coming out hard. And I'll tell you this, I care less right now about who I can prosecute than I do about getting the truth out.
Kash Patel and Dan Bongino also going in to the wave of transparency they say the American people are about to be provided with on everything from the Epstein case to Crossfire Hurricane to the Trump assassination details, all of it coming out, that they're doing it, though, the right way, that for months they've been uncovering all this information, took them months to do it, and they have all the information, and they've set up a pipeline to Congress, who they say is the proper mechanism for releasing all of this, adding the FBI bastardized the process, lying to the American people, withholding and hiding documents, burying them, Kash says, in the deepest, darkest corners at the FBI Hoover building, putting the evidence in places nobody's allowed to look. Well, after months of searching, we found it. We found a lot, all of it being released to the public, and soon, very, very soon. Watch.
Look, I can speak to the folks that were in our seats, our predecessors, and they intentionally failed the American public by putting on the biggest D.C. deception game we've ever seen. They said the FBI was the most storied institution for law enforcement, and it was. And it will be again very soon. But when the likes of Comey and McCabe and Strzok and company came in here with the James Bakers of the world and intentionally lied to a federal court only to rig a presidential election by lying to the American public and using taxpayer dollars, likely illegally, to fund this entire operation and then withhold exculpatory information from a federal court that I used to appear before to manhunt terrorists, that's what broke the FBI. And then when they were caught, they lied about it. And you and a few others like Dan and others were brave enough to cover it 6, 7, 8 years ago. And we're still talking about it today because as Congress is working rigorously with us, the Crossfire Hurricane documents are coming fast and hard. And they're being sent there unredacted so we can have full accountability. And that's how you restore what the trust that was lost to the American public when it comes to the FBI.
Yeah, but come on, Director, with all due respect, we've been talking about this for a long time, and I've been demanding accountability for many, many years. You mentioned Comey, Strzok, and the rest. They've got TV shows. They've got media platforms. They're fine. There's been no accountability.
Well, look, it's a fair criticism, but what I will tell people is we weren't here in the FBI in the last 5 years when we had statute of limitations that were still in play, where we could have investigated criminal conduct. Most of these statute of limitations are 5 years old. And we will investigate criminal conduct where we find a righteous case to do so and the law and the facts allow us to. But a lot of it we're precluded from. So we'll take the criticism, and it's rightfully so, that could we have done more in the past? Sure, people before us could have, but what we can do now is continue to put out the documents and the information that these people withheld from the American public. And I'm just telling you right now, as much as we know about Crossfire Hurricane, he and I just found out more last week. And we're continuing to work with Congress to put those documents out. That's how vindictive and vicious the former leadership structure here was. Not only did they bastardize the FISA process and lie to the American public, they withheld and hid documentation and put it in rooms where people weren't supposed to look. And it's a good thing we're here now to clean it up, and you're about to see a wave of transparency.
What do you mean?
Just give us about a week or two.
Okay. Well,
in another story, the Trump administration now committed to making a deal with Iran, a new nuke deal that will hopefully solve this problem once and for all. Iran, a huge country, 75 times larger than Israel. They have a population of over 92 million people, a third of the United States. That's a big country. They have vast oil reserves, all of which heavily sanctioned, though. They can't sell their petro on the open market today. They do so on the black market. So the benefits of removing these sanctions, bringing them back into the fold, will be huge. To do so, though, means Trump needs to get a new nuke deal. A new deal needs to be made that prevents them from obtaining a nuclear weapon, something Trump is apparently committed to doing. The media, though, trying their hardest to hammer home the narrative that all of this is self-inflicted, that Trump created this problem by pulling out of the original Obama-era deal, and now he's trying to take credit for fixing it. That, though, couldn't be further from the truth. Trump pulled out of the original Iran nuclear deal because it was a bad deal. It allowed Iran a pathway to a nuclear weapon. They were allowed to enrich uranium, and over time, their enrichment capability was allowed to continue increasing. That's not going to happen this time. The key difference, Trump's deal will not allow any enrichment whatsoever. None. Steve Witkoff explaining this morning. Trump's red line is enrichment. He will not allow even 1% enrichment capability. Watch this.
Well, the president has been very clear. He wants to solve this conflict diplomatically and with dialogue. And he's given all the signals. He's directly sent letters to the supreme leader. I have been dispatched to deliver that message as well, and I've delivered it. But on the other hand, we have one very, very clear red line, and that is enrichment. We cannot allow even 1% of an enrichment capability. We've delivered a proposal to the Iranians that we think addresses some of this without disrespecting them, and so that's important. We want to get to a solution here, and we think that we will be able to. But everything begins from our standpoint, John, with a a deal that does not include enrichment. We cannot have that because enrichment enables weaponization, and we will not allow a bomb to get here. But short of that, there are all kinds of ways for us to achieve our goals in this negotiation. We think that we will be meeting sometime this week in Europe, and we hope that it will lead to some real positivity, and that's where we are, sir.
Should Trump pull this off, it would be a huge win for everyone, for Israel, for the Middle East, for the United States, also for Iran, because they'd be a member again of the international trading system. Not an easy thing to do. It will be very difficult to convince the Iranians to give up any enrichment privileges. We'll see what happens. All right, that wraps up this episode. Like, subscribe. We'll see you next time.